Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm Marshall Meek, President of the Washburn University Alumni Association and Foundation, and I want to welcome everyone to Washburn University on this very special day. And I would like to give a warm welcome to our honored guests, Senators Bob and Elizabeth Dole. Today, we are here to celebrate the lifetime accomplishments of Bob Dole. He's not only an alumnus of this university, but above all, a wonderful statesman for our country. The bronze statue we will unveil today will add beauty to our campus, not only because of how amazing it looks, but because of what it represents to Washburn, Topeka, and to the state of Kansas. Like so many of the buildings and artwork on our campus, this statue and this event today would not have been possible without generous philanthropic support from some very special donors. So at this time, I would like to ask John Pinegar, Doug and Kathleen Smith, and their 3 children, Caitlin, Zachary, and Andrew, to please stand. Thank you all so much for making this day possible, for your tremendous support of Washburn University. And John, Doug, and Kathleen, your loyalty to Washburn and to the Dole family serves as an inspiration to us all. And your willingness to make this gift that brings your passions together is truly special. So thank you again. In addition to philanthropy, there's been another key ingredient in making this campus beautiful and making it what it is that we enjoy today. And that ingredient is leadership. Much of the progress you see on campus today has been achieved during the last 21 years under the leadership of Dr. Jerry Farley. And now, And now it is my pleasure to introduce Washburn University's president, Dr. Jerry Farley.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're delighted to have you join us on this very, very special day. And what an exciting day this is for the entire Washburn community. We are here to celebrate a great American hero and statesman, Senator Robert J. Dole. And a special thanks to Senators Dole and Dole. We are delighted that you could be here with us today for this special occasion. Now, there are a number of dignitaries out here today. And we appreciate you being here, and we appreciate that you have dedicated your lives to public service as Senator Dole has. But the list is too long for me to read today, so I hope that you will accept my thanks for being here and understand why I didn't call your name out specifically. The last time Senator Dole was on this campus was during the sesquicentennial celebration in 2015, where he served as the Grand Marshal of that homecoming parade that year. Today, it's truly an honor to have you back on campus with us. We appreciate all you've done for us. And this today is a really momentous occasion for this university. We are honored and excited to have you a part of the Washburn community and Washburn as an alumnus. Like many of the students who come to Washburn University today, Bob Dole grew up in a small town in Kansas. All of us know the story of Russell, Kansas. We get a lot of students from small towns like that from all over the state. And I'm sure that it was there that he developed his sense of community, as well as the importance of serving your country. The values of hard work, in serving one another have been ingrained in him all of his life. His service to his country began very specifically when he enlisted in the Army during World War II, and it transformed his life. He was trying to assist a fallen comrade, a fallen soldier, and was critically wounded and permanently with a disability. He has never let that stop him. But it was in those grueling 3-year process of recovery from those serious injuries that Senator Dole learned determination and reinforced his grit. And he recognized the importance that Russell, Kansas, had in helping him get through those difficult times. Now, for his service in the Army, he received 2 Purple Hearts and the Bronze Star with an oak leaf cluster. That's good. Senator Dole was a student at Washburn and enrolled as a student in Washburn and was one of the millions of veterans that came back to go to school to further their education, in many cases because of the GI Bill. Now, this statue here on our campus will be a reminder of the importance of public service. But most of all, we hope it serves as a reminder to students and all who will pass these sidewalks of the importance of finding common ground and working together to serve and solve our difficulties and our differences. Senator Dole was focused on doing just that during his career in public service. Many of you know this career much better than I do. He was first a member of the Kansas House of Representatives. He then went home to Russell, served as a county attorney. From there, he went to Washington, D.C., where he served in the U.S. House of Representatives and then in the U.S. Senate for almost 30 years. He served as both minority leader and majority leader in the Senate. He is today still the longest serving GOP leader, largely because of his ability to work with everyone. Senator Dole was President Gerald Ford's vice presidential running mate in 1976. And he was a Republican presidential candidate in both 1988 and 1996, where he earned the GOP nomination for president in 1996. He is a strong advocate for our nation's veterans and regularly can be found at the entrance to the National World War II Memorial on the Mall in Washington. He has greeted endless numbers of families and other veterans. People from each political party are quick to say how much they respect Senator Dole. And following a grueling election in 1996, Bill Clinton set partisanship aside and demonstrated that respect by honoring Senator Dole with the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 1997. Early in this year, Susan and I had the honor to be present when Congress presented Senator Dole the highest civilian honor the United States can bestow on anyone, the Congressional Gold Medal, for his work not only serving our country, but as a strong advocate for the disabled and our nation's veterans. While it only takes approval from 67 senators to receive that award, in this environment, he had 100 votes. I don't know, that may have been the first time you got an entire 100 votes. That certainly says a lot about his integrity and the respect that other people have for him and what he has done and what he means to so many people. As a true American hero and someone who has earned each day his way into our nation's history, he is so richly deserving of that as well. As an alumnus of Washburn University, he has served Washburn as a trustee of the Washburn University Foundation in supporting student scholarships and in the creation of the Robert J. Dole Center of Excellence for Law and Government in our School of Law. Senator Dole, it is my privilege, my honor, to speak on behalf of Washburn in saying we could not be prouder to call you an alumnus of this university. We admire your determination during World War II and following that. We are grateful for your ability to work and find common ground with all of people. We admire your commitment to this nation and to our veterans. You have made America a better place for all Americans. And we here at Washburn are grateful for your support of this university. We are honored to have this statue on our campus. Thank you for all you have done and all you will do for Washburn University. Before we unveil the statue, I'm pleased to recognize the artist who created this sculpture, John Pinegar. He is from, I almost got it right. He is from Omaha, Nebraska. When John was asked if he would be willing to create this statue to honor Senator Dole, John called the opportunity as once in a lifetime event. He was honored to be able to prepare this bronze. John and Senator Elizabeth Dole, would you come forward? Join me so that we can unveil this very special statue for the Washburn campus. Now we'll all get in place and it'll fall on us. Now, it is my distinct honor to introduce an amazing statesman, a notable Washburn alumnus, an outstanding individual and a great American, Senator Robert Dole.
Thank you. Oh, just looking around, there are a lot of people here.
Yes, sir.
Let's see, is my mic working? Well, at 95, I'm honored to be here. I may re-enroll in Washburn just to, take a few classes I missed. But Washburn is a great university, a great motto, not for ourselves alone. And it was really gave me a new life, a new goal, something to work for. And before the war, at another university, they've agreed to keep my transcript secret until I leave, which is on no hurry. But in any event, I looked up the word friendship, or somebody else did, I can't see that well, and I couldn't find the right definition for John Pinegar and Doug and Kathleen and Andrew and Zachary and Caitlin. They're just very special friends of mine. And they donated considerable funds for this statue to be created. I think I told John, you shouldn't spend your money that way. And he said, let me decide how I'd spend my money. So I agreed. I wonder sometimes how we cope with problems that all of us have. We all have ups and downs, and I had my share, but I had a great life. I'm still alive, but I have a great life. And I'm very honored to be here with my wife Elizabeth, and I notice Senator Kassabaum is out there. Nancy, thank you for coming. And my classmate, where's Sam Crow? Yeah. And I know there are other people that should be introduced, but Sam and I were in the same class in law school, and Nancy and I served together in the Senate. We thought we had a pretty good team, and Nancy was the most popular politician in Kansas, but I think I was second or third or fourth, I'm not sure which. But we had a great time together in the Senate. My wife Elizabeth also served one term in the United States Senate from North Carolina, and so we were able to swap stories back and forth about the Senate. And today it doesn't seem to be working. When I was a leader, I had friends on the Democratic side and, of course, the Republican side, and we got things done. We worked together. I remember, and I'm sure Nancy does, working with our many, many friends on the Democratic side, as well as our Republican colleagues, to try to make a difference in America. It's the greatest country on the face of the earth. And I was very proud to serve in our, thank you. Yeah, I went off to war after a couple of years at KU, where I didn't go to class, but I attended all the farewell parties. So we had a great time. But my grades suffered, so I'm glad I redeemed myself from Washburn, where I made all A's but one B. And I probably didn't deserve the A's, but they gave them to me anyway. So, but I want to again thank John and Kathleen and Doug and Zachary and Andrew and Caitlin for their very, very special friendship. I really appreciate it, and I hope I can some way repay you, not with money, but some other way. So I guess I would conclude by saying I'm a proud Kansan. I love this state. I love the people in the state, whether they're Democrats, Republicans, Independents. My view is once you're elected, and I'm certain that was Nancy's view, you serve the people. You don't serve only members of your party, you serve everyone in your state. So, and that was very important to me. I agreed, I believed in bipartisanship. We don't have all the wisdom in our party, and they don't have all the wisdom in their party, but together we can work out a pretty good compromise. And we did, time after time after time, because of our friendship just with our colleagues. We didn't wear our buttons for Republicans. And it was a great experience. 36 years in Congress, and I tried to figure out on the way out yesterday when we finally took off after a 2-hour delay that I'd probably travel back and forth from D.C. to Kansas more than 1,000 times in the 36 years I was in the House or the Senate. I probably should have been an airline pilot, but it's been a wonderful experience representing people in this audience. And I'm just, as I said, very proud and very humbled by my friends. And I don't know what else to say. I'm Thank you. I probably don't deserve this honor, but I'm going to accept it anyway, since it's already created. And John did a great job, and he spent 7 months, he told me last evening, working on the statue next to me, and I can't see very well, I can't hear very well, I can't walk very well, but I can talk. Something you learn in politics. So I want to thank all of you for coming and sharing this glorious moment with me. And I hope that young people who pass this way will recognize that if you study hard and apply yourselves, you can probably get another statue on the campus somewhere. So thank you, Dr. Farley. This is a great honor, and I'm, very proud to be here. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Senators Dole. This is a great day for Washburn University, could not have happened without John Liba doing what he did, or without Mr. Pinegar, Doug Smith, Kathleen, your family. It's made this campus better because of the vision that you have. We're grateful for that. Thank all of you for being out here today to celebrate this momentous occasion in the history of Washburn and in Kansas history. We hope that you felt this was a worthy investment of your time. We certainly do. And we're so proud, so very proud of Senator Bob Dole. Thank you for coming today.
My friend. I'm doing good. To see you. See you as well. My wife. Yes.
Okay. So what are we doing here? Rumor he was doing a lunch. Yeah, great. Well, we're here live at Washburn University after the statue ceremony for Bob Dole. My name is Bob Beatty, professor of political science at Washburn University. I'm joined by Jeffrey Jackson, Professor Jeffrey Jackson from the law school, and Professor Burdett Loomis from the University of Kansas. Both Washburn and Kayuu are institutions that Bob Dole attended. So welcome, gentlemen. And what I'd like to talk about is, first of all, it's a beautiful day, and what are the connections of Bob Dole to Kansas from his early days with Washburn and Kayuu? And since who wants to talk about that?
Okay,
Professor Jackson? Yeah.
I can talk about the interesting thing, I think, when you talk about Bob Dole's time here at Washburn. There's two main themes, and I think the first one has to do with the attitude that he and other members of what we refer to as the greatest generation actually brought to the school, and how it contrasted with kind of the lighthearted approach of the pre-war times. And in his memoir, Senator Dole talks about the fact that, you know, he'd been over in Europe and he had seen things the devastation and the damage that can happen with other forms of government, and that had given him a great desire for public service. And a lot of the veterans coming back at that time that made up a good chunk of the people going to college shared that desire. And I think the thing that he always has credited Washburn for is helping him to achieve that kind of thing, because it was here in Topeka and he was able to get to see state government firsthand, and many Washburn students at that time were working in state government. And he credits Elizabeth Bowers, who was the law librarian here at the law school, with suggesting to him, well, you guys fought for a good government over there, why don't you become a part of it here? And thus he became, and she encouraged him to run for the legislature. And being here at Washburn and able to do that, he ran for the state legislature in 1950, and he served in the legislature here while he was working on his last year in law school. He'd scheduled all of his classes to be in the afternoon because
you're a professor in the law school. Was that easy to do?
You know, it was easier back then when the legislature actually met in the mornings. Because now that they're all day, it's hard. Although, you know, as a third-year law student, you could do it because you could schedule pretty well with the way things were going, and that was a big thing for him. And the other interesting thing I think that you can take from his time at Washburn, and to be fair, his time at the University of Arizona before that, when he was recuperating, is this idea of the accommodations that he had to go through to get his education. While he was at Washburn, he carried this 30-pound sound scriber that the VA hospital had given him, and it would transcribe the lectures onto these recorded discs. And then if you could imagine him, you know, sitting through the lectures and trying to absorb stuff because he couldn't write very well at that time, and then he would play back the sound scriber at night and he would recreate his notes. And that was an amazing kind of dedication. And he's very grateful to the professors who would let him take his exams orally so he wouldn't have to write the blue books, because this was, you know, in the days before computers. And it gave him an appreciation for things. And I think that helped culminate in one of his greatest achievements ever, which is the Americans with Disabilities Act, that's allowed a huge amount of individuals to have a better part in society than they normally would, including in higher education, because I know we have numerous accommodations that we provide now as a result of that act, and it's an amazing thing.
Well, and you look at the statue, and I believe it's larger than life. But the one thing people have to understand, 7-foot statue, is that Bob Dole, growing up in Russell, Kansas, he wanted to go to KU and play basketball. And a lot of Kansas kids to this very day want to go to KU and play basketball. A lot of kids from Texas want to go to KU and play basketball. So he was an athlete, and he ran around Russell. He was an athlete. He played different sports. So he was a guy who really felt, you know, the strength of his body. And for what happened to him in World War II, it was, of course, devastating. And he's talked and written openly about, you know, how he felt to lose the functioning, you know, for a long period of his body, and then change his sort of the way he approached life, which, as you mentioned, was to go into public service. And so I think the statue is appropriate that it's larger than life, because we've seen statues of athletes, you know, soaring into the air, but he was not able to do that physically. His original goals in life maybe, but he had to do it through force of will in other ways. But he went to KU to play basketball.
Sure,
right?
of course. And of course, Paul Gavin brought in about 25 students every year, and they said, "Oh, I'm going to play basketball at KU," and their dreams were, you know, shattered. And Dole's dreams were literally shattered. And I think that one of the things you see in his recuperation, and particularly this time at Washburn, is this transformation of someone who things came easily to. He clearly did. To someone who had to work for everything. And as you go through Dole's life, you see this unbelievable work ethic that defines him. Saturday mornings in the Capitol, he would be there with his staff. The staff may not have really liked it, but they knew what was expected of him. And nobody outworked Bob Dole. And I think that came directly from the school side, preparation, but also the idea, okay, now I'm through the war, I want to get on with my life. Washburn was perfect for him in that way. It allowed him to move through instrumentally to get to the state legislature, the county attorney, and then of course to the Congress. So I do think you see this transformation in the years after World War II, and that produces the person that Bob Dole was, say, in 1960. He was a very different person by 1980 or 1985, but the core was set in those years.
Yeah, and I think Senator Dole talks about this when you look at, there's the Dole Institute at the University of Kansas, but he's also very closely linked with Washburn University, and both places are special to him, and I think because they represent different times of his life, but also the acknowledgement from where he came from. And so the Dole Institute is just a fantastic place, so much goes on there, but he's also kept his links to Washburn, I think because he understands that it was really important in him starting that new segment of his life. And as you mentioned, he was involved in legislation for the American for Disabilities Act because of what he went through. And
just one thing, his initial speech when he became a senator, his maiden speech, very important for new senators, was on minority rights for the disabled in 1969.
And one of the things that he has, you're talking about links with Washburn, one of the things that he sponsors, in addition to having his name on our Center for Law and Government at the law school, he also has funded the Robert Dole Scholarship for Students with Disabilities. And so he continues to give back to that sort of thing. And I think that's wonderful. I'm amazed that he was able to do all that he did in the legislature and graduate magna cum laude, which is better than I did.
Well, politicians, sometimes back and forth of politics, there's a lot of stereotyping and sort of generalizations. But if you look at people like Bob Dole and John McCain, Senator John Kerry was in Vietnam, McCain was in Vietnam, Dole was in World War II. What they survived and it's nobody's fault, but what they survived, most modern students can't even imagine. Right. For Bob Dole, laying on the ground in Italy, seeing the blood, flow out and not being able to move. And John Kerry having to shoot somebody point blank. John McCain spending 5.5 years in a prison camp. So I do think it's really important when we to talk about Bob Dole. And in that context, because it's so easy for some people just to say, dismiss them. And we've seen that in the last few years, these people that served our country. But really after, as you mentioned, after getting incredibly wounded psychologically or physically, then devoting themselves to public service. Now, Dr. Loomis, can you tell us a little bit about Bob Dole's service in the Senate? And I'd like to get back to you as well about the American for Disabilities Act. But what kind of senator was he?
So Bob Dole was elected to the House in 1960, served 8 years in the U.S. House as a regular Republican from an agricultural state. People thought he was talented, but 1 out of 435. I really think the place for Bob Dole was the Senate. Elected in 1968, Frank Carlson retired. He encouraged Dole to run. Dole won relatively easily in 68. And then the next 12 years was remarkable years for Dole. He was the vice presidential nominee in 1976. He was Republican National Chairman during Watergate. He got a lot of exposure, not all of it good. No. And in many ways learned how to be a senator. And this was particularly true in the late 70s. He'd been the vice presidential nominee. He'd been sort of the hatchet man for Jerry Ford. He came back to the Senate, and he was the ranking member, first on ag and then on finance. And in those years, I think he really honed the skills that we saw later on. And then in 1980, much to his surprise, and to Democratic Chairman Russell Long's surprise, Dole became chair of finance. And that began a 15-year run of Dole at the heart of leadership in Washington with Reagan, with Bush, and with Bill Clinton. And you see, these are the years that Dole will most be remembered for in American politics, because he was the center of Social Security reform, tax increases, tax cuts, then tax increases, major tax reform, and of course the Americans with Disabilities Act. He had a remarkable legislative record, and even though you have food stamps early and the ADA later, his real contribution, as he talks about, is bringing people together day in, day out, week in, week out, across the aisle, building majorities to get things done. And that stands in stark contrast to the U.S. Senate of today.
If you're just joining us, I'm Bob Beatty from the Department of Political Science, Washburn University, joined by Jeffrey Jackson, a professor at the Washburn Law School, and Burdett Loomis, a professor at the University of Kansas. And behind us is the new statue of Robert Dole, who went to KU, went to Washburn, and obviously ran for president, served in the U.S. Senate. And it's a fantastic statue, and believe me, that's not a given. There was a statue of Lucille Ball a few years ago that was shown, and it was so awful that I believe they replaced it. So it's an absolutely gorgeous statue, and the great thing about it is that the students walk by, they'll ask about Bob Dole. Oh, he went here, and I think I could serve as inspiration. Right. What a career a Washburn law grad and a government and history and politics BA grad can have, right?
Oh yeah, no, it's one of those very inspiring things to see where education, I think education in general, can take you when you really apply yourself to it, and hopefully that's going to be the thing that students will take about from this thing.
And at Washburn Law School, do you literally say to students, it's a little bit much, obviously Bob Dole, what a career, but say, look where you can go if you put your mind to it.
Yeah, and that's always been a thing for Washburn, both the law school and the undergraduate campus is, you've got the ability to do good things. And granted, that's every institution. It's amazing what education has done. And you were talking about American with Disabilities Act. I think maybe people don't realize before that act the things that you had to go through if you were in any way disabled. Yeah. We have the Carnegie Building behind us. We have a law school alumnus who talks about the days he was in a wheelchair because he'd been stricken with polio, and many law schools to which he applied said, don't even bother, we can't accommodate you. The dean at Washburn detailed 4 students to carry his wheelchair up those steps every morning and through all the floors and all the way to camp. And I think that's one of those things that you sit there and say the Americans with Disabilities Act has made life so much better for so many Americans, and I think that is a tribute to Senator Dole and many of the things he's helped accomplish.
And I think now we just take it as a given, which I think is the greatest accolade for public policy, that it is just part of our everyday life. You accommodate, that it just is, and I think that's a demonstration of the power of public policy, but the power of that idea, which was long overdue in 1989 or 1990.
And Robert Dole has written a number of books, but he's a complex man. We don't just have a caricature here. And he in his remarks he talked about working with other parties, but actually in several books where he sort of opened himself to very gifted writers. There's one book called What It Takes by Richard Ben Kramer, which I recommend to everybody, where Dole spent days literally with Kramer on the campaign trail in the evenings talking to him. And he revealed, Professor Loomis, he revealed that he wasn't always the nicest of guys. He was on a mission, probably from his wounds in World War II. And he had an early reputation as not being very nice. He's always had a reputation of an incredible sense of humor. But he actually he continued in politics after losses, and that changed, where he worked more and more with the opposition party, and he had some defeats. He lost the race for the presidency in '96, of course, where he was the nominee, but he also was a VP candidate in '76 and did not win. And he ran for president in '88, and that was a very difficult loss for him in '88, because he honestly felt in '88 where he was perfectly positioned to be a great president. And so you see, you hear people talk about, we want new faces, we want newcomers, but here's a politician who evolved, and maybe I'm wrong, but evolved in his years in the Senate and as a politician.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think no question he evolved into becoming the kind of the Bob Dole that we think about, and the Bob Dole that he considers himself. I'd say one other thing, that Bob Dole left the Senate in 1996, resigned to run full-time for president. It is now 22 years later. I'm sure he didn't think he was going to be alive 22 years later. He has had a absolutely remarkable post-Senate career. He's made more money than he ever thought he was going to make, and I say that not lightly at all, because he's done a lot of good with that money for KU, for Washburn, for the World War II Memorial, you name it. But he's also been on any number of bipartisan missions with Bill Clinton, with Obama, to address world problems. And I think that you see today at age 95, my favorite line was, I can't see, I can't hear, can't walk, but I can still talk. And when he talks, he still makes a lot of sense. And I think that I think the service continues for that 22 years, which is really remarkable.
It is remarkable, and the Dole Institute at KU, and then what he's done at Washburn demonstrates that. But Bob Dole was the type of, how many politicians in the Senate who run for president have books of humor? The Wit and Wisdom of Bob Dole is an actual book. I have it, of collected witticisms throughout his speech, and many people said he was and still is one of the funniest politicians they ever met. But the other thing about Bob Dole is that he was very self-deprecating. There were many times his own campaign staff would say, talk about World War II, get that out there. And that's not to say that it didn't happen in his campaigns, but he actually often, this became a joke among himself as well, he'd put himself in the third person because he didn't like to talk about himself in his accomplishments. And so maybe that's part of a different generation. He didn't have that braggadocio, and but it also enabled him to work across the aisle. And I don't know if that's something you have ethics classes, I know, in the law school, but that sort of that sort of ability to work with other people is laudable, I think.
Well, and to be honest, it's one of those things that we teach. I know the public perception of lawyers is, it's this person fighting against this person. But in general, you have to work with people, and I think that's a skill that, to be fair, I think Bob Dole had before he came to law school. If you read, he talks about his work when he was in the Army in World War II, and I think he's one of these people who works well with others. It's one of those things that he had. I hope we had a little something to do with honing it, but I think one of the greatest things that Bob Dole did during his life is when you hear him talk about his time in the Senate. Sure, you disagree, you have fights, but it's in the end you realize that no matter what party you belong to, you're working for the same kind of goals. You may have different ideas about what those were, but at least they respected the idea that hopefully people were working in that. It's one of those things that I hope we see more of in the future, because that's the kind of idea, the kind of statesman Bob Dole
and honestly, not to become too political, but we're sitting here today when Dole's that kind of approach to politics is in unbelievably short supply the day after the Kavanaugh hearings. And I think that it's so difficult to bring that back. And I'm not sure what's going to happen to bring it back, to tell you the truth. And you want to look back to this golden era, and I think it looks a little shinier in retrospect than it was at the time. But it's very real. And I mean, two people, Teddy Kennedy and Bob Dole, both fierce partisans, both could work across the aisle, both could have a drink with their competitor at the end of the day. That just doesn't exist, and I think that it will take a real sea change in American politics. And what Dole brought to the table, and many others as well, has been lost.
And I think part of that may be just, and you almost hate to say that it was World War II that shapes this kind of stuff, right? And you know, we're talking about all these people who've been through the Vietnam War, and they've seen firsthand what real high stakes look like. And you hope that we can recapture some of that, hopefully, without having to go through the horrible parts, right? The horrible wars that help shape this sense of purpose. But, you know.
And again, the literature on Bob Dole is vast. I encourage people to read it. Again, for the last few minutes here, Bob Beatty, Washburn Political Science Department, Jeffrey Jackson, the Washburn Law School, Burdett Loomis from the University of Kansas, the dedication of the Bob Dole statue, and an incredible life. But you mentioned World War II, and so Bob Dole comes out of World War II, and with that in his mind, he's talked about this. You know, if he's going to survive that, he wants to make a difference. And not putting down people who make a lot of money, that's wonderful, but for him it was public service. And you see this, and again, it gets him in trouble when he hooks up with Nixon for a few years because he's so single-minded. You're right, it became an obsession, and he openly says it hurt his marriage. But he became obsessed with making a difference, and he joked today, as you mentioned, he didn't expect to be here this long. You know, when you have a near-death experience, which he basically had a death experience, you figure, I need to get something accomplished here. And for him, it was starting in Russell, Kansas as a county lawyer. And he was on a mission, and basically the mission was to become President of the United States. But even, it wasn't just getting there, it was accomplishing things on the way. What else in his congressional career? We talked about the American with Disabilities Act.
Well, I mean, I'd go back. First of all, I'm sure Bob Dole regrets not becoming president, without any question. At the same time, honestly, I think Bob Dole was destined to become a great senator. What kind of a president he would have become, I have no idea. But he was a legislative type from the get-go, from his days in the Kansas State Legislature. And so I would say that came early to him. He was a senator in 1968, and his first great triumph was with George McGovern, a liberal Democrat of the first order who had run for president in 1972. 1973, they get together and they put together an ag bill that does food stamps. And since then, that has been a core element of American agricultural policy and American assistance policy merged together, urban America and rural America, and it was a visionary act that's had immense consequences for half a century. So he started off, that would have been enough for many senators right there. That's a career. And that was just the very beginning.
Well, you know, and I'm biased because I'm from the political science department, but Bob Dole was a career politician. And what what we may be seeing in TV ads is he or she is a career politician. Like, you know, that's the worst thing in the world, right? But we're discussing here about a man who became a politician, you know, at a relatively young age. Absolutely. In order to make a difference. And that's not a bad thing. That he was in the arena, as Teddy Roosevelt would say, and he took some, you know, massive body blows in terms of a political career. as I mentioned before, after he is Gerald Ford's running mate, 1976. That's very difficult. It was a close election, and he feels like he could have done better. He said himself, but it was his first time running for national office, really. And then twice more he runs for president, but he doesn't, hang his head, give up. As you say, he sort of goes back to the Senate.
I think there's one key other election which is really important for Washburn and Topeka, and that is the 1974 Senatorial Election, where he narrowly defeats Bill Roy, and it demonstrates what a tough politician he was in a variety of ways. And at the end of that campaign, Roy said, and I think it's a classic quote, "I think Bob Dole wanted it more," and that might go on his, I don't think it's going to go on his gravestone, but it could. Bob Dole wanted it more. And that allowed him to then take those next few years after the defeat and become the senator he would become in 1980 and beyond.
So, what's the point of attaining power? Is it to be powerful and to talk about being powerful at every chance you can get? From you looking at Bob Dole's career, certainly he enjoyed power, but I would argue that was not the point. Why did he want to be in the arena so badly? Was to have the legacy that he ended up having. I mean,
it was to accomplish those things, right? It's one of those interesting kinds of things where he didn't ever get to be president, but he's accomplished more in his lifetime and is kind of in his Lion of the Senate sort of ideals than I think many presidents could ever lay claim to.
Sure. Right. Yeah. And so as we wrap it up, I'll give you each a minute. You were at the ceremony. You watched. Did you think of Bob Dole, Washburn Law School?
And I think it's just amazing how much he's accomplished throughout all of his years, and how incredibly humorous and how impressive he still is, even at 95, because I think my fondest hope is to still be breathing at 95, and he's amazing.
Well, and I would add that Bob Dole does so many things. After he loses the 96 election, he ends up doing a TV commercial with Britney Spears. I mean, this is the kind of guy, and he's still cracking jokes. But we'll leave it with the last word with you, Professor Loomis.
I think that what you saw with Dole, I go back to the self-deprecation, that he always understood who he was, and he was funny, but his humor evolved. At first it was edgy.
Yeah.
Then it was
a little bit mean.
And then it was edgy with a purpose. Yeah. And I think that's what. And now it's still a little edgy, but a lot more benign. And the idea that he's here, physically here at 95, still talking, still making great sense, is just what a testimony.
And look up his joke about Richard Nixon, the see no evil joke. It's one of the all-time classics. I won't do it here. But Washburn is honored, the University of Kansas is honored to be associated with Bob Dole. And if you watched his remarks, he is honored. He said that one of his most emotional moments of his entire life was coming back to Russell, Kansas in 1976 as the VP candidate. And I think really he does feel like he was able to accomplish a lot of things, and Washburn and other places played a big part of that. So we're glad you could join us here at Washburn University. For Bob Beatty, Jeffrey Jackson, and Burdett Loomis, thanks a lot.